Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh. Mark, what's going on here? Oh hey GC. Wanna join me? No. Mark, it's GhostCritic Turns You On to new comics. Not GhostCritic turns himself on using comics. I'll leave you. Hello everybody, it's me, GhostCritic, back with a long overdue video for my channel. And I'm doing something a little bit different, as you've just seen. And it's not going to be necessarily a kind of review of comics that I've been collecting lately, but I do kind of want to spotlight a number of titles that I've been reading of late that I am really enjoying and would recommend to anyone, whether they are new readers or old, whether you've heard of the titles and you're kind of on the fence of whether to pick them up or not. I'm sure a lot of these titles people are already picking up, but I hope you feel the same way as I do about them. So without further ado, here we go. Now we're in our new DC 52 universe. All the creators on new books are wanting to put their kind of fresh stamp on long known characters, but at still at the same time kind of stay truthful to the roots of the character. First pun already intended. But it must be such a hard act to follow a writer that has literally become DC's new kind of wonder boy and an artist who without doubt is so critically acclaimed and loved, coming onto a book that is just finished a huge event that spanned 2 titles. But Charles Soule and Kano have stepped up to the challenge and taken over with Swamp Thing. Now, yes, a lot of people thought after the big kind of Rock World event, obviously Snyder kept doing just an awesome job on the first part of this series. Who's going to come on and, you know, be of that calibre? And I do think Charles Soule and Kano are up for that challenge, but they're doing it in a distinctly different way and I'm enjoying it. I can't believe that both Soule and Kano haven't gone back and looked at kind of like the late 80s Moore and Delano work from both Saga of the Swamp Thing and Hellblazer, John Constantine, because this has such a kind of old school Vertigo feel to it now. You have the whole introspective Swamp Thing. The artwork by Kano just reminds me of early kind of John Constantine work from Ridgway and Lloyd. And it's great that Charles Soule has used John Constantine, because these 2 characters have been so intrinsically linked for years. John Constantine made his very first appearance in Swamp Thing issue 37, and there's always been a kind of uneasy relationship between these 2 characters, and Soule in this storyline that he's just started is definitely pushing that forward, and as the title of this one says, never trust a Constantine. So if you're worried about jumping onto this book now that, you know, the big boy Snyder's gone, don't be. It's a very different feel, but it's a good feel. So for my next title recommendation, I kind of chopped and changed a lot with this one, for the main reason that, I mean, one, they're both my favourite Vertigo titles at the moment, But given that month in, month out, I always give glowing reviews for the title Fables, and I always ask you to go and pick it up. And I know a lot of you have done that, gone right back to the start, picking the books up in trade, and I'm getting the general impression that everyone is loving it, and so you should. So I thought I'd kind of put that one to one side, because I've given as much as I can give for that title, and champion my other favourite Vertigo book, which kind of deals in the same kind of vein and genre. It is The Unwritten by Peter Carey. Now, this centres on a character called Tommy Taylor, who's the son of a big selling author who kind of writes books in the kind of Harry Potter style. And I've said this ad nauseum when I've ever recommended this book, is that if you can get past the first trade, which is very Harry Potter-esque, and then continue on it, you will appreciate this book, because it is a fantastic read. Now, at the beginning, it does, and still does to some extent, deal with the kind of subjects of fame and celebrity. Incorporated in that, it's kind of like a lost youth, the loss of innocence. And the storytelling that Mike Carey incorporates in this, with the whole kind of social media. He incorporates both kind of internet forums, Twitter, Facebook, those kind of things into the story. But at its root is, it's kind of the relationship between fictional pieces of literary work and the kind of reader's consciousness, and how they incorporate that into their kind of everyday life. And it is a very sophisticated and an intelligent read. It touches on books going from like Mein Kampf to Moby Dick, Alice in Wonderland. There is a rich vein of literary classics that Mike Carey kind of plunders. He does very cleverly play with the art of storytelling. There's a very early issue where, if you remember back in our youth, those choose your own adventure stories, he actually does a whole issue of that in comic book form, and it is such a clever storytelling kind of device. It's very thought-provoking. It's a demanding read, and sometimes you kind of need that in your comic book reading, especially for I don't want to be condescending here, but the more mature readers among us. The trades, as I said, I mean, Fables is well into its like 150 issues. This is a lot easier to kind of acquire, especially in trades. There's about 6 or 7 of them to pick up, to catch up on these, and they are incredibly affordable. The Unwritten, much undervalued title, I feel. I have to say, I am surprised it did reach issue 50. I'm glad it has. I'm glad it's still going, because it's one of those rare comic books out there that does kind of make you think about what you are reading. Oh, and go and pick up Fables too. So my next recommendation, you are actually going to get 2 books for the price of 1. The main reason for this is that these are just plain good fun reads. The times when you just want to sit back, relax, not read anything too taxing, but still be transported to somewhere exciting. And they come both from the same publishing house, Marvel, and they are Nova and Wolverine and the X-Men. We'll begin with Nova. This is a great book for someone new to the Nova series, just as I was. And it's very clever because you immediately identify with our main character, Sam. Now, Sam is the son of a previous Nova, a Nova that's mysteriously gone missing, and it's kind of a legacy story. His son takes on the mantle of Nova, sort of unwillingly, and you learn with him as the story progresses. I think this week issue 6 has just come out, so this has only just started, probably available in trade very soon, or probably much easier to pick up the first 5 issues. It's got the whole spacey thing that I like. You've got alien invasions. It kind of deals with the recklessness of youth. Them thinking they know better, but at the same time learning through their mistakes. And it's got the Watcher in. He looks a little bit strange, but I'm glad to see the Watcher back in the Marvel Universe, and I hope he spends a lot of time and is made use of within this comic book. Now, as for Wolverine and the X-Men, whether it's Aaron with Baccello, Aaron with Bradshaw, this is always a fun, bright, action-packed book. It's full of humour. It's kind of got that New Mutants feel in that the X-Men that Wolverine is kind of looking after and mentoring and training are for the most part young new characters who are kind of finding their way in this Marvel universe. But Aaron is very clever in this. Although it's got bags of humour in it, it still has a certain kind of serious tone in that, you know, the actions that the characters take in this, the storylines that progress, they do have repercussions and they do move on the story. So just 2 great books that are just fun to read, and that's what comic books are all about. Now, my next book that I'll be recommending is the newest on my list, with only 2 issues out the gate so far. It has had series in the past but has been on a long hiatus, but it is a much beloved book by its fans, and I'm sure there are plenty out there that are glad to see it back with its original creators. Now, I'm not hugely knowledgeable on this title, but I know a certain comic book community member certainly is, and that is Howler Mouse. I'll try and put a video somewhere around here about this title, because he is hugely knowledgeable on it. I am, of course, talking about Astro City. Kurt Busiek is back with his very different way of telling a superhero tale. Now, if you are looking for a superhero book, this might not quite be what you're looking for. But if you were a fan of his other book, Marvels, or something a little bit different on a lighter tone, Common Grounds, this might well be the book for you, because there isn't like an overreaching story arc per se. Busiek tells stories from different viewpoints. It could be the viewpoint from a hero, a villain, or just one of the kind of ordinary people that are involved with the bigger Astro City universe. And this is what Busiek does so well and is his forte. He manages to show an event of superheroic nature, but from a very unusual or strange or an angle you wouldn't normally associate with the story, the kind of main story, I would say. And he does have this very human touch to it. Now, like I said, I'm not hugely knowledgeable about this series. I have a few issues here and there of the old series, but I'm very, very excited for what's to come. It's got the main team of Busiek and Anderson, and so it will still feel very faithful to the original series. Now, I know my next title is going to be a tough sell. I read and follow the Twitterverse. I see people's review on Facebook and obviously here on YouTube. And I know this book isn't grabbing a great many of you. And to be fair, I wasn't sure whether it was going to for me either. One, I'm not a huge Hickman fan. I don't actively go out to try and find his work. Two, Western films, that kind of genre, just isn't my thing. And I'm always wary of a hyped book. So I was surprised that a kind of sci-fi Western mashup called East of West has made it on my list. Now, like I said, I know people have criticised this for being too slow, not understanding what's going on, but I really don't get that, because you've got the Horsemen of the Apocalypse portrayed as these kind of petulant little children. You've got a tale of revenge with our White Rider. There are hidden plots and evil machinations going on in the background, and you know, there's almost a love story there. There is a lot going on, I agree, but Hickman is delivering it at a pace that suits the book. I don't want all this information thrown at me right at the very beginning. I don't want to know the whole story in the first 3 or 4 issues. I like it being teased at me, and I think Hickman is doing a great job on this, on East of West. The art by Dragotta is fantastic and helps this title immeasurably. I am just very surprised that me of all people, given the kind of book and who's writing it, is one of my favourites, yet everyone else seems to be having a tough time with it. Now I'm down to my final 3 title recommendations for you lot out there. These are in no way in any order. Quite frankly, if I had to choose between one of these 3, it would be a huge decision to make. Now I'm going to start with a book that I know a lot of you are already getting and enjoying, but I just want to make sure for anyone who for some reason hasn't heard of this, or is definitely on the fence of whether to pick this up, then this is really for you guys. We've got a kind of street level character who for years and years and years, every writer that has taken on this character has really given them the pummeling of their life. Just as you think they've managed to make him hit rock bottom, they find another layer of crap to throw down on him. And this went on with writer after writer after writer until eventually this character cracks and basically becomes the villain of the book. And it ends. The title ends. And you just wonder, how are they going to bring this character back fresh, with a new outlook, that isn't the same very dark, depressing kind of tone to it that previous writers had given? Well, you put Mark Waid on Daredevil. Yes, you knew it. Yeah, Mark Waid came on this book and he has put this in a whole new light. And when I use the word light, I mean that in just tone, in appearance, along with Chris Samney, the artist. This feels a very kind of Silver Agey type book. It does have this bright, dynamic flair to it, but Mark Waid has not forgotten what has gone before. And what Waid has done in the last 2 years, he's actually let Daredevil win a couple of times, while he's referenced obviously everything that has gone before, but he's shown it from a very different angle. There's parts of Daredevil and Matt Murdock's life that we always took for granted, but Mark Waid has shown them, from maybe someone else's perspective, that Daredevil wasn't the poor little victim that we thought he was as a child, let's say. He's brought in kind of familiar and unfamiliar characters if you're not used to the Daredevil universe. So we had Spot in there, we had Claw, Lady Bullseye has made an appearance, and he also brought back one of Daredevil's like arch nemesis, but in a way that you would have never thought, and quite frankly we all thought he was dead anyway, and that was of course Bullseye at the end of the last story arc. He's kept the personal life of Daredevil just as exciting. Matt Murdock is still, as well as Daredevil, very much the ladies' man. But it's the dynamic that we now have between Foggy and Matt as Daredevil as well that has changed dramatically. For those reading it, Foggy now has a life-threatening illness, and it's the kind of Mark Waid's human touch to this. He hasn't taken this storyline lightly, and it is a very emotional book at times. Yes, there's all the action, there's all the superheroics, but at the same time he keeps it very personal. So really, if you've ever been on the fence about Daredevil, why? Now, back in the late 70s when I was just a child, yes, I am that old, of a Saturday morning, one of two things could have potentially happened. One, I would either be sat firmly in front of the TV, or I would be carted off to the local cinema for the Saturday morning cinema club. And the same kind of thing happened in both places, in that I would watch kind of reruns of kind of old 50s and 60s classic TV shows amongst all the cartoons that they threw in there. So there was stuff like Land of the Giants, Lost in Space, the really old kind of black and white Flash Gordon series, and you just knew once that finished, all of us kids would rush out into the streets or outside the cinema, and you know what kids will be like, they start reenacting what they've just seen. And the next book I'm going to recommend definitely gives me that nostalgic feel. Once I've read it, I want to rush out and just, you know, be that kid again, reenacting what I've just read. It is the fantastic Five Ghosts. Now, to be fair, I said when this was first solicited, and I was interested in the premise, this kind of hero main character that possesses the power of 5 literary ghosts, and I thought, 5-issue miniseries, there's 5 ghosts, we're going to have like 5 single stories where, you know, one of these ghosts, he uses their powers to foil some sort of plot. But Barberi and Mooneyham have just blown me away with this title, incorporating all the ghosts, throwing the reader almost into the middle of a story. We don't really know how he's obtained these powers, whether they will stay, and it just, they've given it this very golden age type feel, even down to some of these covers that just kind of remind me of the kind of 40s and 50s classic kind of sci-fi movie posters. It's just a beautiful, beautiful book, and I am so glad Image have picked this up now as an ongoing, so they can now develop more of this character's backstory, the woman in the coma, his relationship with the brother. It's really, really good stuff, and if you haven't picked this up yet, I suggest you're probably worth waiting for the trade for the first 5 issues, because we've got one more of the mini-series to go that was solicited, and then it goes on to its ongoing. But definitely pick this book up, it is a treat. And for my final book, to recommend to everyone. For anyone who's getting the Vertigo Hellblazer withdrawal symptoms, I can tell you now, this will be its successor. It's not even on the Vertigo line, it's another great Image title, and it is J. Michael Straczynski's and Ben Temple-Smith's 10 Grand. Currently on issue 3, so search out these issues, not that many to pick up and get involved. I obviously make the comparison to Hellblazer because it has a lot of similarities, in the sense that you're going to have this anti-hero investigator who deals with the, you know, the more darker side of life. You've got the black magic, you've got the demons and these kind of lost souls. But what Straczynski adds into the mix, which is a lovely twist, is that this anti-hero, this character, can die. But when he dies, he goes and sees, he's allowed to see his apparently dead girlfriend for 5 minutes. And after that 5 minutes, he's brought back to life again. Ben Temple-Smith's artwork, I like to call it ugly beautiful, because it's scratchy, it's raw, you can almost feel like the flames that he draws. There's so much, you know, there's a passion in this art. You can sense like the evil permeating out of the pages when he draws these kind of indescribable characters which you can almost smell. I so hope enough people go out there and buy this title to keep it going. As far as I know, it is an ongoing, this isn't a mini series, but it packs a big punch, and I hope, really, go out, pick this title up. There's no way in the world you're not going to enjoy this.